All right, so are you ready to really kind of get into automation?
Yeah.
Not just as like a buzzword, but like
Mm.
something that can really transform your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
If so, you're in the right place. Today, we are going deep on the automation cycle.
Ooh, I like that. Deep on the automation cycle.
We're getting into the why behind each phase of that cycle.
Absolutely.
We're looking at the book, Mastering the Automation Cycle for Continuous Success, which was originally published in Italian
Oh, very cool.
as Padroneggiare il ciclo dell'automazione per un successo continuo.
That's quite a mouthful,
It is.
but it sounds impressive.
But it's a great book. It
Mm.
really kind of gets into not just like the steps, but the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, and what I really appreciate about this source is that it doesn't just throw a list of steps at you.
Right.
It really emphasizes that automation is an ongoing process, a cycle that needs constant attention.
So it's not just set it and forget it.
No, not at all. You can't just set up a chatbot and call it a day.
Right, like my sourdough starter.
Exactly like your sourdough starter, miss a feeding and the whole thing goes south.
I want to make sure that doesn't happen with our automation.
Absolutely.
So,
So where do we begin?
yeah, let's get into the beginning. What is the crucial first step in this automation cycle?
It all starts with a rock-solid plan. The source is very clear about that.
Okay.
Without a good plan, you're just setting yourself up for time-wasted resources and a whole lot of frustration.
So how do we even go about making one of these rock-solid plans?
Well, first things first, we need to define our goals. And I'm not talking about just any goals. I'm talking about SMART goals.
I've heard of SMART goals.
Yeah, it's a popular acronym. But let's really break it down because a poorly defined automation goal is like saying, I want to improve my website.
Okay.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
Right.
A SMART goal would be something like increase website conversion rate by 15% in the next quarter by implementing personalized product recommendations.
Oh, okay. So it's specific and it's
Exactly.
measurable.
You got it.
I'm starting to remember what SMART stands for.
Yeah. And it's achievable. It's
Yeah.
relevant. It's time-bound.
So that's a great starting point.
Yeah.
But even with that amazing goal that we just talked about,
Mm-hmm.
don't we need to figure out where we are now
Absolutely.
to even know like what needs to be automated?
You're spot on. The source is big on analyzing existing processes before even thinking about automating.
So where do we start with that?
Well, process mapping is your best friend here.
Okay.
It's like creating a visual roadmap of your operations. So you can see all the steps involved in a particular process and you can quickly identify those bottlenecks.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
You can't fix what you can't see.
exactly. And that's where data comes in.
Okay.
Data gives you a baseline. Let's say you want to automate customer onboarding.
Right.
Well, how long does it currently take? How many manual steps are involved?
Right. Like how many people have to touch it and everything.
Exactly. And having that data not only helps you choose the right automation tools,
Mhm.
but also allows you to measure the impact of your automation efforts later on. You'll be able to see if it's actually making things better.
So data is key.
Data is king.
I like that data is king.
Queen,
Queen.
whatever royalty you prefer.
Now, the source also mentions SWOT analysis.
Yes.
I remember that from back in the day in business school.
Ah, yes. The good old SWOT
The
analysis.
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
You got it.
But how does that apply to automation?
It helps you figure out what you should automate, what you should avoid automating, and what potential roadblocks you might encounter.
Oh, okay.
For example, let's say you're trying to automate your social media posting.
Right.
A SWOT analysis might reveal that your content creation process is a major weakness.
Right.
So automating posting without fixing that first would just amplify the problem.
Yeah, you'd be automating a bad process.
Exactly.
So we've got our goals, we've mapped the processes, we've even looked into the future with a SWOT analysis.
We're on a roll.
Are we ready to pick our tools?
Almost, but not quite. The source makes a really good point that even the most amazing tools are useless if you don't have a solid implementation strategy.
Right, so you have to know how to use the tools, not just have the tools.
Exactly. You need a plan of attack. Before you jump into implementation, ask yourself, what processes should we tackle first?
Okay,
How are we going to measure success? Who's in charge of what?
so many questions.
Lots of questions, and you need those answers because without them, you're basically sailing without a rudder.
So it's not just about the tools, it's about how you use them.
Precisely. It's about having a plan, a strategy, a clear roadmap for implementation.
This planning phase is way more involved than I thought.
It is, but for good reason.
Yeah.
This is where you lay the groundwork for everything that comes after.
Right.
A solid plan sets you up for success.
Makes sense.
So speaking of implementation, are you ready to move on to the next phase?
I think so. Let's roll up our sleeves and get this show on the road.
Let's do it.
Implementation. Here we come.
Let's go. Okay, so we've made it through the planning stage.
Yeah, we've got our blueprint,
Our roadmap.
our automation battle plan.
That's a good one.
Now it's time to actually, make it happen, right?
Exactly. Time to bring those plans to life. That's what implementation is all about.
Okay, but, where do we even begin?
Well, the source breaks it down into some pretty clear steps.
Yeah.
The first one is configuring those tools that we spent so much time picking out during the planning phase.
Okay, so we're, installing the software.
Yeah, installing, setting up user permissions, all those little details
Gotcha.
to make sure those tools are aligned with our specific goals.
That makes sense.
What's next?
Next comes the exciting part.
Ooh.
Building workflows.
Ooh.
This is where we define how all those different systems and tools are going to work together.
Okay.
It's like choreographing a dance.
Between software.
Exactly. Between different application platforms,
Yeah.
all working together seamlessly.
So if we were setting up an automated email sequence or something,
Right.
we'd be making sure that the email platform talks to our CRM.
Knows when to send which email based on whatever.
You got it. And this is where those process maps we created earlier really come in handy.
Right.
They guide us in creating smooth and efficient workflows.
Yeah, I'm really starting to see how everything kind of comes together from that first stage.
It's all connected.
So we've configured our tools, we've built our workflows. Are we ready to unleash this automation symphony on the world?
Not so fast.
Uh-oh.
There's one more crucial step before we hit that launch button.
Okay, what is it?
Testing.
Oh, right, of course.
And I'm not just talking about a quick run through. We need to thoroughly test every aspect of our automation.
What kind of testing are we talking about?
We're talking functional testing to make sure each piece works as expected.
Oh.
Integration testing to ensure those systems are playing nicely together.
Right.
Performance testing to catch any bottlenecks. Usability testing to make sure it's human friendly.
Oh, right, because if we build this whole thing and then nobody can actually use it, what's the point?
Yeah. Exactly. We want to avoid any tech-induced headaches down the road.
So better to find those glitches now than later.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've built, we've tested. I'm getting really excited to actually see this automation in action.
I know it's tempting to just hit that go button and relax with a margarita.
Oh, yeah.
But remember, this is a cycle, not a one-way street.
Okay, so what's next?
Implementation is just the beginning. Now we move on to arguably the most important phase of all.
Oh, wow. More important than actually making the thing work.
In a way, yes, because the next phase is analysis.
Analysis.
This is where we really get to see if our automation is working.
Okay, but how?
Remember those SMART goals we set way back in the planning phase?
Oh, yeah.
This is where they come back into play.
Okay.
We need to track those key performance indicators, KPIs,
Right.
to see if our automation is actually achieving what we set out to do.
So are we saving time?
Yes,
Are we reducing errors? Are we boosting that bottom line?
all of the above. We're looking at the data to see if the automation is living up to its promise.
So we're not just automating for the sake of automating.
No way. We want to see tangible results.
But wouldn't that involve, looking at a ton of data?
It does, but data is our friend here.
Okay.
The key is to collect the right data and know how to interpret it.
Right. So if we were, looking at that automated customer support thing that we were talking about before,
Yeah.
what kind of data would we be looking at?
We'd be looking at things like customer satisfaction scores,
Okay.
response times the frequency of escalated issues,
Right.
all of that juicy data that tells us if the automation is actually improving the customer experience.
I like the way you said juicy data.
It's good stuff.
So we're using data to kind of check our work and make sure that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final phase of the cycle, optimization.
Okay. Optimization, the final frontier.
It's where we take all those insights from our analysis and fine-tune our automation for peak performance.
So, what kind of optimization are we talking about?
Well, it could be anything from tweaking the parameters of our tools
Okay.
to refining those workflows we built,
Mm-hmm.
even integrating new technologies as they emerge.
Oh, wow. So it's never really done?
It's a continuous process.
Like tending a garden.
Exactly. You plant the seeds, but you don't just walk away.
You got to water them and...
You got to weed, you got to prune,
Mhm.
you got to adjust your approach based on what you observe.
It's about constantly improving.
That's the beauty of the automation cycle. It's not a set it and forget it deal.
It's about being attentive and responsive
Mm.
and always looking for ways to make things better.
And that's the essence of mastering the automation cycle.
So it's not just about tools and technology.
It's about embracing a mindset of continuous improvement.
A commitment to finding better ways to achieve our goals.
And that applies to anything, really.
Not just automation.
Not just business processes, but any aspect of our lives. Okay, so you left me hanging with that cliffhanger last time. What is this unexpected area we're applying the automation cycle to?
But what if we applied it to personal growth?
Personal growth.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, but I'm also a little skeptical.
Okay.
Personal growth is all about, like, self-reflection and emotional intelligence and, like, human stuff.
Right.
How do you automate that?
That's what's so interesting about it. It's not about turning yourself into a robot or anything like that.
Right.
It's about using the framework to kind of create a system for yourself.
Okay.
For consistent personal development.
So, like, setting goals. For
Exactly.
personal growth.
We set goals all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like, I want to learn a new language. I want to eat healthier,
Right.
be more present with my kids.
Absolutely.
Those are all like little personal automation projects.
So instead of mapping out like a business process,
Yeah.
you're mapping out your own habits and behavior,
Exactly. Yeah.
thought patterns.
Yeah. And you're identifying those bottlenecks
Oh, the bottlenecks.
that are holding you back personally.
Yeah. In my
Yeah. And just like in business, we need data
data.
to understand our baseline.
So if I want to be less stressed, for example,
Yeah.
am I tracking my sleep, my screen time,
Those things that,
the things that are contributing to my stress?
exactly.
Okay, so you're getting a baseline.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our project, we've got our baseline data. What does implementation look like when we're talking about personal growth?
So that's where you start putting those plans into action,
Okay.
experimenting with different techniques and tools.
So if I want to be a better communicator,
Yeah.
maybe I join Toastmasters.
Yeah. Take a public speaking class.
Practice active listening,
There you go.
even like a meditation app
Ooh, yeah, to calm those nerves.
to help with those nerves. Exactly.
So instead of configuring software,
We're configuring ourselves, our habits, our routines.
our environments even,
Exactly.
to support those goals that we've set.
And then we get to test and tweak.
Yes. The testing and tweaking is crucial for personal growth as well.
You try things out, you see what works, you see what doesn't work.
Sticks will fall flat.
Yeah, and you adjust accordingly.
And then we analyze.
We analyze how those new habits are affecting us.
Right. Like, are you actually becoming a better communicator?
Yeah. Am I seeing positive changes in my relationships?
If not,
Back to the drawing board.
back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Try something new.
I love this. This is really making me rethink how I approach my own personal development,
Me too.
because we often just kind of wander around hoping for the best.
Right.
But this is like a more structured and intentional way.
Yes, you're creating a system
You're taking control.
to drive that change.
It's like hacking your own personal growth,
Ooh, I like that.
using this framework to achieve lasting transformation.
It really highlights that idea of continuous improvement
Yes,
that we were talking about, but applying it to your whole life.
absolutely.
I think this has been one of my favorite episodes.
Me too.
Because it's really made me think differently
It's a different way of looking at things,
about things.
applying those same principles to something unexpected.
So to all our listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the automation cycle.
Yeah, and we hope you learned something new.
Whether you're trying to streamline your business or transform your life,
Remember those 4 phases? Plan, analysis,
and optimization.
embrace the cycle, and keep learning and growing.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to experiment.
Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.